Almost precisely 100 years ago, America was at war with itself on a question of principle. That war between the states really decided what sort of country America was going to be. Now, in the 1960s, they are faced with less violent, but hardly less serious decisions. The American eagle, the symbol of a revolutionary democracy whose first success against the British nearly 200 years ago changed the course of history. And today it dominates a very large part of the world. Yet under its wings, all is not well. Here in America, people are well aware that the next 10 years contain an unprecedented challenge to their power, to their comfort, and perhaps even to their lives. And no other nation has ever been warned so precisely and so often. Yet life is very good here, and most people seem to feel that the next 10 years will be simply a continuation of today. But some Americans, especially the articulate ones, do not take the prospect quite so calmly. One of these is Adlai Stevenson. He's concerned with the aimlessness of ordinary life, its pointless busyness and its self-absorption. He's concerned with the lack of initiative abroad and the conformity at home. He rejects many of the things that America takes for granted. Mr. Stevenson was twice defeated for the presidency and is still standing in the wings as a Democratic possible for a third try. The Panorama found him in New York on the 18th floor of his Fifth Avenue hotel.
I'm very anxious about what happens to the individual in mass society. The growth of technology has contributed to our physical ease, to our mobility, and so on, but I wonder if it's contributed to the discrimination of our minds. Certainly, we have been obsessed in this country with security, physical security, economic security, social security, and so on. The price of security is often group thinking, conformity, and all the dangers to individuality, to the diversity, to the eccentricity of individuals, which make a country exciting, interesting, and lively and dynamic. No, I think given freedom, given responsibility, that we'll discover that we're hungry for it. But the important thing is freedom. Even more important, perhaps, than the individual is national freedom and the survival of the ideas that are precious to us. I think here that we have and see throughout the world the evolution of new societies, and I wonder if the center of gravity that we have taken for granted so long as lying either in Western Europe or the United States is going to always be that way. We've been the dominant civilization in the world for so long, I think perhaps we take it for granted. But it seems to me that new centers of power are emerging now out of the ashes of the past, in Asia, in China, in India, and so on. And that perhaps we'll have to look forward to a new grouping in Europe, a new center of power there. I think it would be a very wholesome thing, so that instead of being the dominant country in the world that we have been in the recent past, at least, I think that we will be only one of the centers of power.
But one of the characteristics of the American intellectual is to rage over his own natural imperfections and perhaps too over his powerlessness in so affluent a society. They are gluttons for self-punishment. Now, in an old apartment block in New York, a citadel really of respectability, which towers over Central Park and remembers a calmer and less frenzied city, there lives one of their chief and most entertaining torturers, Marya Mannes. She's a writer, a bitter poetess, and a social critic. She's gloomy over the future of American leadership during the next decade.
Well, I wish I assessed it more hopefully. I'm not at all sure, in fact, that we, the United States, are leading the West now, and I think unless we change certain states of mind and of feeling here, we won't lead. These are, as I see them, a predominantly business society in which the sale of goods transcends the sale of ideas. Sandburg, our poet, of course, said that prosperity is dripping fat, and although I know this is heresy, I think that we are reaching the point of too great prosperity, not only for our own good, but for the rest of the world. I think that we are made to buy a great many things we do not really need. I think that we should realize this and impose a voluntary discipline on our greed, which has reached really such proportions, this pursuit of things, this pursuit of money, that we no longer know what our goals are. And if we lose this intention, if we lose this purity, we cannot possibly convey it to others.
It has not always been prudent to think and talk like that in America. It's all right now, but only a few years ago, the man who was head of the Manhattan Project, the Anglo-American program which during the war produced the atom bomb, he was pilloried before Congress for his doubts. Dr. Robert Oppenheimer no longer makes bombs, and he is now their opponent. He's found his academic haven. He is head of a marvelous and richly endowed institution called the Institute for Advanced Studies in Princeton, New Jersey. He is left alone in his institute to work and think and write and to help other people do the same. And no more is asked of him.
Well, if we look at the decade ahead and what to expect in science and of science and because of science, I suppose there's no floor to the gloom that we could allow ourselves. I think I would rather speak of what we can hope, what is reasonable to hope, and what is worth working for. One thing, surely, we'll learn more about nature than in any other 10 years of human experience. We may learn, I think the chance is good, something almost definitive about matter, the nature of matter and its order. This may be part of the present effort. We learn of the birth, life, death of stars and galaxies, and about space perhaps, which we can't travel into, but can see and hear. We learn more about the nature of life and something about ourselves. This, I think, will be the biggest explosion and have the greatest import for our views and for the quality of our life. I hope that these 10 years will see a growing effort to transform the world and the relations between states and their functions, to exorcise the unprecedented dangers of modern warfare. I hope that these 10 years, especially in the West, perhaps most especially where we need it so much in America, in my country, that we will begin to re-knit human culture and bring the insight and the wonder of the world of nature, as science has revealed it, into relevance and meaning for the intellectual life, the spiritual life of man.